Hey guys, in this video we are going to be making a chunky crochet cloud plushie pillow. It is going to be made with two panels that are sewn together, this being the first one, and we are going to crochet the second one together. I know that it looks like a little bit of a blob right now, but when it is finished and sewn together, it will look more like this. So again, we are going to be crocheting this pillow today. It is super cute when finished. We are going to be using a chunky Chanel yarn from Walmart, is the one that I chose. It is a super bulky number 6 yarn with the recommended hook size of 25 millimeters. We are going to be using a 19 millimeter hook today though. I did use 2 skeins of this yarn to make this pillow. If you work loosely when crocheting, you may want to get 3 skeins just to make sure that you have enough yarn. Like I've said in the 2 past previous videos, and I'm going to continue saying now, if you guys are going to do this pattern, I suggest that you watch the video from beginning to end the first time all the way through without working. That way you can get a grasp of what is happening and how everything goes together, which will leave you with less questions as you are working. And then come back and watch it a second time and pause and work at the same time. Therefore, you can work easier knowing what you are getting into. So to get started with this, again, we are going to be using a 19 millimeter hook with this super bulky number 6 yarn. We are going to start with a loop on our hook with a simple slip knot. And then we are going to chain 16 chains, which counts as 15 plus 1 for our first row. So again, we are going to chain 16 chains. We now have 16 chains, and again, this counts as 15 chains plus 1, and the plus 1 will act as our single crochet for the next row. If you need to see how to do this or anything else in this video, there will be links for those videos in the description box below. If you need to see how to do this or anything else in this video, there will be links for those videos in the description box below. If you like this video and channel, please give this a like and subscribe and leave me a comment to tell me what you think. Also in the description box you can find the link to my Etsy, and there you can find the written pattern for this pattern, as well as a link to my website where all other art that I make and sell, such as macrame pieces, jewelry, t-shirts, and more can be found. So please check that out if you'd like. And lastly, if you'd like to keep up with what I'm up to outside of videos, you can follow me on Instagram @thecraftnut, and you can also tag me there with the things that you make for my patterns, because I'd love to see your work too. So again, when you have a chain of 16, our 16 stitches equals 15 plus 1. So we are actually already have our single crochet for this next row, which does not count as a stitch. And so we are going to work a single crochet into this second stitch from the hook. So again, work a single crochet into that stitch, and then work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across this chain. And at the end of this chain, you should have 15 single crochets, and that is for row 2. So again, work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across. Again, when you've made it all the way across that row, you should have 15 single crochets, and that is the end of row 2. For row 3, we are going to turn our work, and we are going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. We are going to chain 1 at the beginning of every single row, and for every single row, the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So for row 3, we are going to work 2 single crochets into this same first stitch, and then we are going to work 1 single crochet into the next 13 stitches, leaving us with just 1 stitch at the end. And when you've worked 1 single crochet in all 13 of those stitches, and you are left with 1 stitch at the end, we are going to work 2 single crochets into the last stitch as well, which brings us to the end of row 3. And at the end of row 3, you should have 17 single crochets all the way across. For row 4, we are going to turn our work, chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and for this row we are going to work 1 single crochet into the same first stitch and work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across this row. Again, this is row 4, and by the time you reach the end of this row, you should still have 17 single crochets all the way across. And again, when you've made it all the way across that row with 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across, you should have 17 single crochets, and that is the end of row 4. For row 5, we are going to turn our work, chain 1, and then we are going to work 2 single crochets into the same first stitch, and then work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across this row into the remaining 16 stitches. And again, this is row 5, and at the end of this row you should have 18 single crochets. So again, that was row 5, and at the end of that row you should have 18 single crochets all the way across. For row 6, we are going to turn our work and chain 1, and we are actually going to bring these first 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. So again, bring those first 2 stitches together, and then we are going to work 1 single crochet in the next 15 stitches until we have 1 stitch left at the end of the row. So again, work 1 single crochet in the next 15 stitches until you are left with 1 stitch left at the end of this row. And when you've made it across and you have 1 stitch left at the end of this row, you will want to work 2 single crochets into this last stitch of the row, and that will leave us with 18 single crochets for this row, which again was row 6. For row 7, we are going to turn our work, chain 1, and we are going to immediately take these first 2 stitches and bring them back together. So bring the first 2 stitches together and 1 2 single crochet together, and then we are going to work 1 single crochet into each of the remaining stitches across, which is 16 stitches. So again, work 1 single crochet into the remaining 16 stitches of the row. Again, when you've made it all the way across this row, you should have 1 single crochet in 16 stitches, with the first 2 stitches being brought together in 1 2 single crochet together. This is the end of row 7, and you should have 17 single crochets all the way across this row. For the next row, row 8, we are going to turn our work, chain 1, and work 1 single crochet in the same first stitch, and then we are going to work 1 single crochet in the next 14 stitches until you have 2 stitches left at the end of the row. So again, work 1 single crochet in the first 15 stitches of this row, 15 including the very first one, and then these 14 that we are working 1 single crochet into, until you have 2 stitches left at the end of this row. When you've made it across the row with 1 single crochet in the first 15 stitches of the row, and you now have 2 stitches left, we are going to bring these last 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together, and this is the end of row 8, and you should have 16 single crochets at the end of this row. For row 9, we are going to turn our work. We are going to chain 1, and we are going to work 1 2 single crochet together in the first 2 stitches, So again, bring those first 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. And then we're going to do the same thing in the next 2 stitches as well, by bringing the next 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. Then we are going to continue working 1 single crochet in each remaining stitch of the row, which is 12 remaining stitches. So again, go ahead and work 1 single crochet in the remaining 12 stitches of the row. And when you've made it all the way across this row, you should have a total of 14 stitches all the way across. And that is the end of row 9. For row 10, we are going to turn our work 1 chain, which does not count, and then we are going to bring the first 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. And then we are going to work 1 single crochet in the next 10 stitches. So again, work 1 single crochet in the next 10 stitches, which will leave you with 2 stitches left at the end of this row. When you've worked 1 single crochet in those 10 stitches and you have 2 stitches left, we are then going to bring those last 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together as well. And this is the end of row 10. And at the end of this row, you should have 12 single crochets across the row. For row 11, we are going to turn our work, chain 1, and we are going to bring the first 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. And then we are going to work 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches. So again, work 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches, which will leave you with only 4 stitches left at the end of this row. And when you are left with only 4 stitches left at the end of the row, we are going to bring the next 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together, leaving us 2 stitches. And then we're going to bring those last 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together as well. And at the end of this row, which is row 11, we should be left with 9 single crochets all the way across. For row 12, we are going to turn our work, chain 1, and we're going to bring the first 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. Then we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches, leaving us with just 2 stitches left at the end of this row. So again, work 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches, leaving us with just 2 stitches left, which we are going to bring together in 1 2 single crochet together. And this is the end of row 12. And at the end of this row, you should be left with 7 stitches all the way across. Row 13 is going to be our last row. So we are going to turn our work, chain 1. We're going to bring the first 2 stitches together in 1 2 single crochet together. And then we are going to work a 3 single crochet together in the next 3 stitches. So again, bring the next 3 stitches together in 1 3 single crochet together, which leaves us with just 2 stitches left, which we are going to bring together in 1 2 single crochet together. And again, that is the end of row 13, which is our last row, and you should have 3 stitches at the end of that row. When you have finished your first panel, you will want to go on and make a second one exactly like this. Again, this is actually my second panel, so I already have 2 made up. So we are now going to go ahead and sew them together. When you get your second one made up, you can go ahead and do the same, of course. If you do not feel that the tail of this panel is long enough to sew the panels together, you can of course finish this off and then start sewing it together with a new piece. But I usually take my yarn and measure it around the outside of my shape and make sure that I have at least double of the shape in extra yarn to sew it together, which in this case I still do. So I'm going to keep this yarn connected and sew my panels together right from where it ends off. So I haven't actually finished this off yet, so I'm going to tie a knot, and then we are going to sew our panels together with a whip stitch all the way around. So you'll want to make sure that your shapes are lined up correctly, making sure that this kind of flat side is together and any crazy stuff is together as well. So I'm going to put this one on the bottom so that stuff's on the inside, just like that. And then again, you are just going to want to take your end and whip stitch all of these stitches together. So you'll want to go ahead and feel along the edges where all of the stitches are. And I go from the top to the bottom when whip stitching and pull it all the way through. And then again, come back to the top, go through the top stitch and the top panel, and then go through the bottom panel through the same stitch, and do this again and again and again through each stitch all the way around the edge of the pillow, going through the top to the bottom through each stitch. So I'm going to go around this whole shape and do that all the way around until I have a hand size hole left. That way I can pack the stuffing in through that hole, and then we'll finish it off together. When you have sewn your two panels together all the way around and you are left with a hand size hole at the end, this is what your work should be looking like. And again, the shape will fill out just a little bit more once you actually get the stuffing in. But at this point, that is what we are doing, is putting the stuffing in. And how much you stuff this is up to you. I will say that you will have to put in a decent amount of stuffing for it to get the shape. And you'll want to make sure that you're shoving it in all the places that it needs to be shoved in, again, so that it fills out the shape. But you also don't want to put in too much stuffing, otherwise it will start filling up too much that it actually brings the stitches apart as it's just sitting there, and you'll be able to see the stuffing on the inside. So don't stuff it too full, but also stuff it enough. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff this really quick. And when you've got it stuffed as much as you'd like it to be stuffed, we'll then go ahead and finish sewing up these last few stitches with a whip stitch in our remaining yarn. And when you have made it all the way around, sewing these two panels together, you will, of course, go ahead and finish this off just by tying a couple of knots, which I will use this last loop to do. Pull that tight, pull it back through, and then pull it tight again. And you can throw one more knot in there if you'd like. Pull that tight. And then you can either cut this off short and shove the rest of it in there, or you can just shove the whole thing in there. This one's a little long, so I'm going to cut it off and then just pick a stitch to shove that in through. And there you have it. That's all there is to it for this pillow. It's a little hard to see the shape of this white one, so again, this is what it should end up looking like. This one has been sitting around my house for quite a while, so the shape is pretty well put into it and squished down and all of that good stuff. And again, you can see this one a little bit better against the white background with blue yarn. So again, that's all there is to it for this Crochet Chunky Cloud Plushie pillow. I hope that this was enjoyable and helpful for you. If it was, please hit that sub, like, and bell button, and leave me a comment to tell me what you think. I hope you go on to create many more amazing things, and until next time, guys, I'll see ya.